It's practice. Sometimes it might not work with one crowd. And if you try it again in a slightly different manner, it'll work better. And I've had that before as well. I've not necessarily got rid of the material, but I've just tried to adapt it in a slightly different way. Just different tone, different pace, different energy, slightly different wording, and all of a sudden it hits a bit different. It was very visual. I will imagine me on stage, not purposely, it just kind of comes naturally. And I'll be imagining it, and I'll be imagining the story that I'm telling. And it's either an experience that I've had that I can twist and make a bit more comical, or an observation that I've made. There isn't one way. That's the nice thing. As long as we give our mind space to be creative. But it's great to kind of have our own space, but it's also really great to be with like-minded people who can push us and help us see, things in a different way. I think that's a very important thing and I think that's the great thing about comedy, is that you can have this very human experience together. The laughing is not unique to human beings, but it is a very human trait.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the RoboSapien Podcast. We had a great conversation around a topic that is not talked about a lot in the startup industry, as people assume that it will come up. Whenever it will come up, they will face that particular challenge and get over with it. But that does not happen to everyone. People fail in doing so and then get embarrassed and stop at that moment while they are making a really good progress in their startup. And that particular topic is public speaking. Public speaking is a very big challenge for many people because they don't get a chance to do so either in school, in high school, in college, or anywhere else. And since it is an issue that is very personal to most people, people try to ignore it. But we have talked about this issue with a very amazing guest. His name is Mr. Joe Walsh. He is a stand-up comedian. He is a writer. He is a podcaster and also a teacher. And he does a lot more things than one can think of to do in a day. Joe had an amazing insight because from being a teacher to becoming a podcaster and then starting a career in stand-up comedy takes a lot of guts. And of course, we all know the stand-up comedy is a place where you have to face a crowd, where you have to go out and talk to a lot of people at the moment. He has faced all these issues, and his insight, we believe, can help all of us out. We really hope you will like the conversation today, enjoy it, and take something out of it. Before you go into our chat, make sure to hit subscribe and smash that bell icon and go right into our conversation.
Oh, thank you guys. I'm very good. I've been looking forward to this for a long time, so I appreciate the invite. Thank you.
Awesome, man. We have been waiting to do this podcast for, I think, almost a month. We have been discussing, having all the talks and all the conversation, but we never got the time. Somehow we never found the time to record this specifically particular section.
Well, there you go. I guess sometimes good things come to those who wait. So we'll hopefully this should be good.
Yeah. So, Joe, I think most of the viewers must be a little confused since we do a lot of the episodes with the startup owners, with investors, and, usually about startups. But there's one thing I would like to say to the audience is that this podcast is not just about startups, but also about teaching people how, you can build yourself as a person and as a founder for the, starting your own company or starting your own startup or anything, right? And today, the topic we are going to talk about, that is public speaking, stage fear, being how difficult it is to be a stand-up comedian, a founder, or anything, right? So that is something that I never found anywhere that has been talked too much about, and we found the perfect guy who is actually a stand-up comedian who faced the audience every single day. So I think, Joe, what I'm saying is we would really like to know how you started the whole thing. What was your journey like?
Into stand-up comedy. So I it started through podcasting. I've been podcasting for a couple of years now. My podcast is called How Do You Survive, and it's a little similar. It's nothing to do with business because I know very very little to do with business. Um, but it's about kind of facing life's challenges and having a laugh along the way. And I do it with my brother. It's good fun. And we had on these guests, and one of the guests was a stand-up comedian, and she invited me along to one of her shows. So I went, and she was very very funny. And she just simply asked the question, like, why? I know you're semi interested in this. Why don't you go for it? And I think it was just having that little invite, that like semi validation that you could possibly go for it. I think that was the kind of key I needed. So I just asked her for some contacts. I spoke to a few people, got my first gig, and then from there on, kind of pushed myself and do a gig, as much as I can. And yeah, it was. Yeah, it was an experience. It was difficult. It's nerve wracking. It still is nerve wracking, but it's been a really really fun experience.
Oh man, like moving from podcasting to getting on a stage and talking to people live. How did that thing
Yeah,
connected?
podcasting is a bit safer. Well, the thing about podcasting that I enjoy is, I mean, I do it with my brother. Is the fact that we can discuss interesting topics. Similar to you guys. How to kind of improve yourself. So, creating good habits, overcoming fears, recognizing weaknesses, etc., etc. But I enjoy those topics, but I very much enjoy them through the lens of comedy, through the lens of humor, and being able to kind of see things in a slightly silly way, and therefore make it a much more enjoyable experience. And so I very very much enjoyed that. But the thing about a podcast is it's just you and the other person, and maybe a guest or whatever, and you then don't know whether it's just you who thinks you're funny or if you are actually funny. And that was the worry, I guess, is that we're talking about kind of overcoming um fear of public speaking, is this genuine fear that nobody likes us, because we as humans we're social creatures, right? So our social status means a lot to us, okay, internally. And so this genuine fear that we're not validated, we're not as good as we think we are, and that in my case nobody will think I'm funny, and my whole life has been a lie, and I'm not funny. People just laugh because they're nice. That's the kind of genuine internal fear. But I think just having that opportunity and that invite, and why don't you, and knowing that if I didn't take it, I would regret it. That's the thing. I think if there's one thing that's worse than fear, it's regret. And so, having had regrets in the past for not taking opportunities, I pushed myself to go on to that. And I was able to take some of the stuff that we talk about in the podcast, day-to-day things, and take that humor and then apply it to the stage. And it's a very different format, don't get me wrong, but it's been an experience. It's been a learning journey.
Wow. You starting a podcast with your brother, as I have also started a podcast with my brother only. Aabhas is my brother. So I
I was like, you're not brothers, are you?
no,
But okay.
not
I had to check your last names. I was like, okay, I don't think we're actually brothers.
yeah, not brothers by birth,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Nope. But yeah, that's lovely. That's sweet.
right. I could connect with you like so intensely, and it was really good. And as you talk like the stage fright, right? It's a real topic. Okay. And you said like you have done multiple things, from starting from podcast to being a stand-up comedian. You must have faced multiple experiences, right? You too might have faced like stage fright somehow. So how was those experiences for you? And like in the meanwhile, while you were doing this, how did you overcome those?
I mean, before I got up on stage as a stand-up comedian, I had to. There were also I've had other experiences where I've had to kind of get up on stage. So that might be presentations. I'm also an English teacher as well, and let me tell you, there is nothing scarier than standing up in front of a bunch of teenagers and trying to educate and impress them. They are the toughest crowd that I have and will ever face. But also just experiences, even giving lectures and presentations and speeches and things like that. To be brutally honest, I've been very lucky growing up. I've had opportunities from a very young age to speak in front of people, audiences, and to perform. My parents very much got me into that and through those things. And so as far as dealing with kind of stage fright, like you said, getting up to stand up, and I will say, I take back my teaching comment. Doing stand up is the thing that has made me most scared in terms of speaking in front of other people, because that is an art form where if people don't like you or like what you've done, they will tell you by not laughing. So it's, they might sit through a music piece, or they might look at some art or whatever you've done, but they will tell you directly that your art is not very good by just not laughing. So it's a very, very kind of quick feedback kind of thing. But yeah, it's a practice. It's a very practice. And this is the thing. This is the nice thing. It's just take it step by step. And so whatever stage that we're in, we don't have to go from base level to the top of Mount Everest, but instead, let's say, just aim for the next base. And so if it is, if you're really, really scared of talking in front of other people, well, maybe the next goal is just talking in front of a few people, speaking up more in a group discussion, those kind of things. But I will say ultimately that, and this might hurt, but the real secret is to just do it, and you'll find
like Nike.
that 90. Yeah, exactly, like Nike. Yeah. I might get sued now, but yeah, they've got a point. Is that 99 times out of 10, it's going to go better than you think it is.
Agreed. That reminds me of a story. We all must have seen it somewhere in Instagram. That a little boy was scared in the dark, and he asked to God, "I don't know where to go. What to do next?" And the God asked him, "Can you see the next step?" And he said, "Yeah, just take it."
Yeah.
Right? That is all you have to do. Just take the next step.
Yeah.
You cannot see to the end of the tunnel. You cannot see where the dark ends, But if you can see the next step, you have to, damn it, take it,
Yeah, exactly. And it's dangerous to go too fast. You're building experience and skills, and so there are definitely things you can do to prepare and things like that. But if you don't want to go from I can't talk in front of 3 people to talking in front of 1,000 people, that would be debilitating. And so it's just about setting the right kind of goals as well, and pushing yourself.
What is your ideal audience? Like how many people do you think should be in the room for you trying your material and knowing that that will definitely work?
Do you know, that's a good question. My ideal audience is honestly an audience that similar to my age. I think there's obviously different tastes in comedy, and an older audience, they're not as likely to enjoy my comedy as perhaps other comedians. But in terms of a number, honestly, the bigger the number, the better it is for comedy. This is the secret, that laughter is contagious. And if you socially, again, if you see other people laughing, your chances are you want to join in. And there's also a chance that a smaller group of people are going to find some of your jokes funny. Different people laugh at different jokes. And so the bigger the audience, the better the vibe and the better the crowd. And that starts to build and build and build. Yeah. And it's a bigger rush as well. It's really, really hard. I've performed in front of some very small crowds, and it's very hard to be good and energetic, but in a comfortable way for a small crowd. Whereas we've got a big crowd, they expect that energy, and it's more apt to comedy. So I wouldn't say 1 million, because that would be too many, but I would love to do a crowd in front of like 1,000 people. I think that's my next goal. I've done like up to 100 kind of thing, but I'd love like I'd love like 1,000 people. That'd be great. That's my next goal.
So when you try your new material, you go in front of 100 people, you try it out. If it works, then it definitely will work in front of 1,000 people. Is that so?
Yeah. But I will say this, and it's the same for kind of anything really. And what I was saying about step by step is I don't really try all new material at once. I have stuff in there that I know that works and will get the crowd laughing, and then I'll throw in new material. Yeah. And then they're warmed up and so on and so on. So it's about taking that step by step. So every time I kind of do a gig now, I try new material, but just a little bit. So that way I feel safe and secure, that I know I've got stuff up there that I know will work. I know will work because it's worked in the past. And it's a similar thing for, pushing yourself in terms of business, or pushing yourself in terms of public speaking, is stick to what you know that works as well. That's good. Then you have a foundation. And then if you want to experiment with new things, or then you want to push yourself in a different direction, by all means do that, but don't run faster than you can.
Great. I believe every stand-up comedian have their different way to test out their material. Like, I saw one of the episodes of Joe Rogan Experience, and what he said is that first thing he writes all of the best stuff at very late at night. It's like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and when he tries out stuff, he goes to the comedy club and tries it out. If the crowd is laughing and going crazy, he knows it is going to go wild. And if it doesn't, if the crowd is like okay, then he knows that he needs to improve.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And that's the crazy thing about stand-up comedy as an art form, is you get instant feedback. But I'll add to that as well. It's practice. Sometimes it might not work with one crowd, and if you try it again in a slightly different manner, it'll work better. And I've had that before as well. I've not necessarily got rid of the material, but I've just tried to adapt it in a slightly different way, just different tone, different pace, different energy, slightly different wording, and all of a sudden it hits a bit different. And again, another life lesson there is that sometimes it's not necessarily wrong. You just need to try it in a slightly different way.
Wow. Ooh, that was good.
Well, I've got Aabhar's approval, so I appreciate that.
So
that's all I needed. I can finish now. I've got that.
I'm done. I'm done for the day. Mic drop.
Mic drop. Yeah, this is an expensive mic, so I
good.
Oh man. Wow.
Yeah. So like let's say, like, just like Aabhas said, like the person who was in the Joe Rogan Experience had a way that he writes his own joke. What's your process?
Yeah.
Like, what's your creative process for that?
That's a good question. My creative process. I feel so artsy. This is so validating. Thank you, guys. That's I can see why Joe. I personally am not up at 3 a.m. because I am tired, so I would not be able to write at that time. But for me, and this is the crazy thing. I think a lot of people kind of have this as well. Is when you're doing mundane things and your mind wanders. And I'm kind of learning about the thinking process and stuff like that. But I am someone who's very visual. I will imagine me on stage, not purposely. It just kind of comes naturally. And I'll be imagining it, and I'll be imagining the story that I'm telling. And it's either an experience that I've had that I can twist and make a bit more comical, or an observation that I've made. And it comes to me when I'm away from my phone, when I'm away from distractions, when I'm just doing mundane things, so walking, just doing the dishes, etc., etc., taking a shower, just having those moments where I'm not, I'm not kind of putting myself into the matrix, etc., etc. And I'm just having some space to breathe. And it's amazing what your brain will come up with if you just give your time, just give your body some space to breathe from all the crazies of the world, etc. And so that's kind of how the idea forms. And then I write it, I look at it, I practice it by myself. I look a bit crazy, but I'm getting more used to that. And I hear how it sounds, and I like think about it and re-edit and so on and so on. And then I do it on stage, and then I hear how it goes. And sometimes it's good, and it's mad. Sometimes the jokes that you think are really funny don't go so well, and the jokes that you think are like little bit funny go really well. And you're like, well, okay, I guess I'm missing something. So you kind of rethink and so on and so on. And so it starts from that idea, committing to inputting the idea, practicing the idea, implementing the idea, reevaluating the idea, and starting again, kind of thing.
Like most of the people I talk to, or most of the people I've heard, talk online, even on the podcast, they say that they have to put themselves into an environment to get into the flow state, right? But it is very common, I've seen with myself and people around me, like not talking about the people who are online, but the people who are actually around me. They say that they feel most creative when they are doing the most mundane task. I can actually, the point is, I can actually relate to what you are saying, and I believe that you can get into a flow state by putting yourself into an environment, but most of the people, creative persons put themselves in the state when they are doing something they do every day. So they don't have to focus on that particular task. They can, let their minds wander.
Yeah, and there isn't one way. That's the nice thing, as long as we give our mind space to be creative. I think that's the thing. And I agree with your guests and friends who also say being with other people. I'm a writer on another podcast called The Midnight Snack, and we're actually performing the play at the end of the month, and we have a good group of writers, and we get together, and it's really, really fun. And because we're all very similar minded, and because we're all similarly creative wise, we get to bounce off each other, and we get to think of things that we've never thought of before. So it's great to kind of have our own space, but it's also really great to be with like-minded people who can push us and help us see things in a different way. I think it's a very important thing with being creative, and when I say being creative, I'm not talking about the typical arts as well, but being creative in business and thinking outside the box and problem solving and things like that. Is just being with like-minded people and seeing things in a different way, and that's going to expand your brain and be a benefit, now and in the future.
It's very uncommon that Aabhar has been shut and he's like, nice. Like that happens only when things go above his head, and he's like, nice. Don't know what to say next.
Oh, I'm okay. No, I can repeat. I'm so sorry. I apologize.
No, it's okay, man.
Not that I didn't understand, but I was like wondering. I just wondered, and I was thinking about what you were saying. So that's why I was just blank. Okay,
right.
Nice.
So it was that's so deep, or this guy is an idiot. It's one of the two.
No.
So, okay,
no, it was so deep.
It was the first one.
I want to say something. I'm not going to say it.
I have to take a minute to ponder upon everything that you say.
Sure. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Don't worry, I cut it from the recording.
That's very sweet.
Yeah, please. So Joe,
that's funny.
I wanted to ask, what is stand-up comedy for you?
I think everybody has a different definition.
Everybody has their own definition.
I think that's the crazy thing about the London circuit right now. So the comedians on the London circuit is there are just so many different types, and some are For me personally, I think it's an opportunity. My goal is that when I get on stage and I do my bit, is that we connect as people, as an audience, and that there are lots and lots of things that differentiate us, and that's sometimes good to laugh at as well. And some comedians do that very well. I very much like to find something that we can all find funny and we can laugh at together and we can connect. And I very much want to be a kind of almost a personal comedian, and a comedian that feels like we're chatting as friends and we're having this experience together. And I think that's the great thing about comedy, is that you can have this very human experience together. The laughing is not unique to human beings, but it is a very human trait. And it's one of those kind of experiences that when you're laughing for that split second, even if you are in depression, you're not feeling depression right there and then. And laughing is a great way of kind of curing a lot of mental health challenges. And it's nice to kind of have those real, genuine experiences together. And so I for me, stand-up comedy is the opportunity to really connect with people that I would never connect with before, just because they're strangers. And in London, you don't talk to strangers. You just don't. So it's nice to have these kind of genuine moments with random people, and also friends and family who visit as well, and just really connect that way.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, but I don't think like in London you don't talk to strangers, because like
Don't say because of Sherlock Holmes.
I don't know, man. No. Because few weeks back we were in Goa. Okay, we were on a trip. So there we met a guy who was from London,
Yeah.
and
Oh.
he was a drummer. Okay, he was such a cool guy.
He was a drama.
Yeah, he was a
Yeah.
drummer.
Oh yeah.
And he was such a cool guy, and we talked for at least like for 30
Half an
minutes
hour, yeah.
30 minutes outside a grocery
Yeah.
store. sitting on our bikes, we were
Yeah.
talking to him.
I think that's also because he was half wasted.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah, if we're drunk, it's a very different story. Yeah. Yeah. If you get in the tube, you guys will have to come to London sometime. If you get in the tube, the only people that will be talking, really, 9 times out of 10, are tourists. Everyone else is in silence. I'll get on with my wife, and we'll just sit there in silence. I don't like to talk on the tube.
Why is that? It's like
I don't
it's
know
in
why,
your
but there you
like
go.
it's inherited, or like what is the case?
I think it's just this kind of it's this ambience, it's this culture that we have. Like, I think when we get to social events, we'll chat and whatever, but if not in a social event, it's don't talk to me. I'm going where I'm supposed to be going, etc., etc. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but we've all accepted it and we've all approved, and we're happy how it is. So yeah.
If it works, it works.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Keep the peace.
Yeah, nice.
Awesome.
So coming back to the topic, on like when you said there are multiple mental health issues that laughing cures. Okay, and about
It can help. I don't know cure, but it can help.
yeah, it really helps. There are multiple people that I know that really feel that way, like depression and all these things. I have seen on multiple peoples. They are facing it, and music is one thing, and laughing is another. So they really help.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Agreed.
So
Yeah.
I would
And
really
it's
suggest
kind of
your
science as
podcast
well,
to them.
Yeah.
I think we
Yeah,
should.
that would be kind if we could have the tagline cures depression. I don't know if that's quite accurate, but yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah. So, Joe,
Oh,
I would
dear,
like to
that's
know if there was any particular incident that I believe you must have faced, because even we did when we were in school. You know, where we were playing guitar on the stage, going in the competition and every day. There was one point when you are on the stage and you are like, okay, I'm frozen. I do not know what to do.
Yes and no. I prepare everything beforehand. It's kind of what I was saying. I because I get so nervous, I could not go up on stage without something prepared. It's very rare that I've gone up with nothing, absolutely nothing. And like I admire people who can do that, but I see a lot of people do that, and it just doesn't go well. They might start off strong, and then it just really fizzles out. So always be prepared. That's a great piece of advice for anything. But yeah, I would say there's that, and then as far as I think we're going back to this kind of stage fright and public speaking and stuff like that. There are little tips that you can use to help give yourself a bit of a break and just help you kind of almost reset. So in a public speaking setting, you can ask a question. Yeah. What happens there is you just get a chance to breathe. It's a really, really okay to just take a breath. Okay. Like I said, I wrote a play with some other people and a podcast, and it's been performed. And my brother is an actor, and he was performing in the play, and he was on stage, and he completely forgot his line, and he was like the big narrator, and so without him, there isn't anyone to drive the story. We don't know where we're going to go. So he froze for what was about 10 seconds, and that 10 seconds felt like eternity for a long, long time. And I was squealing in my seat, and I was like, "Ooh, I hope he figures it out." He just stopped, smiled, which is good for you because smiling helps kind of change your brain chemistry and helps you kind of makes your brain think that you're happy, even though you might not be, etc., etc. Took a breath, and just that breathing really helps kind of destabilize any kind of stress hormones, and it's almost kind of lets your brain kind of switch back on, kind of thing, reboot almost. And so just taking a big deep breath and asking a question, stopping, smiling, embracing it, those things really, really help. And then your brain will kick into gear. Eventually the adrenaline will kick in, and you'll get to go back to it. And as a comedian as well, that again, speaking of a different art form, if you make a mistake as a comedian, that's okay. That you can really use that. It's on one of my Instas and stuff like that, one of the reels. But for some reason, my voice breaks. I'm 30 years old, but I'm still kind of going through puberty apparently, and so my voice broke, and I just went, and I just kind of said, "I'm really sorry. I don't know why I started crying," and we all just, that's what I'm saying before. We all just started laughing. It was really, really funny, and I couldn't get through my set because I was laughing at the situation. The crowd were laughing with me or at me. I'm not too sure, but hopefully with me. And it was just a really, really nice, genuine experience. And it can be the same for giving presentations and so on and so on. You could just I'm going to stop the presentation. I'm going to I just want to, does anyone have any questions up until this point? Now, that you weren't supposed to stop the stop, and you're stopping, so you can kind of recalibrate and get back to things. But it's okay to kind of just stop, take a breather, and move forward.
That is actually true. Like Aabhar, continue.
Yeah, I'll go first because
Aabhar, I'm gonna go first. Thank you.
Because there's very funny story that I just reminded of Aabhas.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh okay.
Now I'm scared.
So basically, we also performed when we were in our school, and we are both guitarists and singers. So when we were going to any kind of performance, okay, on the backstage, at first he was fine. Okay, he was totally fine, and he was like, okay, we are gonna do it. He's totally excited and everything. But suddenly, when we went to backstage, and in 10 minutes there's our performance, Aabhas was like, Aabhar, I'm feeling anxiety. What to do?
I was like, I cannot feel my legs. I cannot move. I cannot stand. I cannot go. I'm not going. You go.
And he kind of like every time, not just one, not twice, every time he was like that. And every time I used to shout at him like, shut up, let's go, let's embrace it. And he just, whenever he walks on the stage, he just does fine.
Yeah.
It was the pre-anxiety that hits him.
I think that's the issue with a lot of people. A lot of people who are presenting for the first time, who are pitching for the first time, who are doing anything for the first time, or even, many times again and again and again. but it always feels like
Yeah.
you're doing it for the first time because the anxiety is the same, the situation is the same, you are the same, man, even though you have grown up.
Yeah. Yeah. Anxiety is a weird thing, isn't
Right.
it? It's this kind of chemical reaction trying to protect us, but because we're doing quite well as a human race, there aren't really that many physical dangers, you know. Um, so we now kind of shifted our anxiety into these kind of social dangers, and yeah, it's silly when you think about it logically. You're right. Like Abbas has performed. We know Abbas is super talented, super good looking. Everybody loves Abbas, right? So why should he be afraid? But his body. Don't laugh at that. I'm being
No, I wish
serious.
that was true, but okay.
I'm just joking. I'm
I
just
wish
joking.
that was true, but it's okay.
But yeah, our body's trying to protect us. But then that's the crazy thing as well, is once you're on stage, a different chemical kicks in,
Right.
and it's adrenaline, and all of a sudden you're getting feedback from the audience, people loving it, and it's all of a sudden such a great experience. And then you do it again next week, and you go through it again. But the nice thing is, if you keep doing it, the anxiety gets smaller and smaller and smaller. I still get nervous before stage, but my first ever time doing stand up, oh man, I was nervous 2 days before. You know, I was just really, really stressed about it. You know, like just constantly. That's the funny thing. I just felt so stressed that I didn't feel like I could be funny. But when I got up on stage, different feeling came in, and it was a good experience.
Absolutely. And actually, that reminds me, uh, you must know about Jay Shetty, right? I think he lives in London as well. He's a podcaster and he talks about mental health and, spirituality and all those things. He's a Indian born, I think, right? So he says one thing that I can relate to a lot is that anxiety is the worry about the future, right? And when we get on the stage, we are in the future that we were worried about. So I think that anxiety just goes away,
Yeah,
right? And I,
that's a good way of thinking of it.
yeah, and that reminds me that when you were talking about that, take a deep breath, do a bit of smiling, force yourself to smile, and all those things. There was one thing that he said about breathing is that when you are anxious, when you're scared, and when you are angry, don't do anything. Focus on your breath, right? Because everything will go away one day, but your breath was there when you took birth, and your breath will be there when you die. So focus on it, and it will.
Not quite when you die, just before.
Yeah, but it's a good way to look at.
It's a good sentiment. Yeah, it's a good way to look at it. You are right. Yeah. Just the second before, and then that's it. Yeah.
Yes, that's millisecond, nanosecond.
I can really feel
Yeah.
we're in a podcast with a comedian.
Yeah, but I've seen, most of the comedian, doesn't matter, you guys are funny anywhere else, but when you get to talk about your art, you're very serious and very passionate about it, and I can see that in you as well.
Oh,
Like,
thank you.
that passion, I don't know where that it come from, because every time see a comedian, they are very goofing around, having fun, making fun, even
Yeah.
making fun of themselves, but
Yeah.
the passion comes out, whenever you guys are talking about your art.
Well, I mean, I appreciate it. Thank you. But anything that is worth something takes hard work. That's the thing, isn't it? And even acting silly on stage, that takes hard work. And anything that you care about, your startup, your business, your family, whatever, it takes hard work. But it's good work because you're enjoying it and it's into something that you care. And that's the nice thing about startups, is hopefully that's putting hard work into something that you care about and you feel passionate about. And that's a very different kind of work to slating away at a job or a project or whatever that you don't enjoy. It's a very, very different experience.
Definitely. It takes a while to, realize what you actually enjoy. People do different degrees, people do engineering, arts, management, and all that, and end up doing something very opposite of what they did, right? What they studied. And that is, I think, is the process where they realize that, okay, I studied this, I gave that a time, but I don't think that is meant for me, right? So what was the point where you realized yourself that, okay, I did this, this and that? And of course, I would also like to know what you did before this. You said you were a teacher, but what was, what did you do before this? And what made you realize that, okay, I want to do uh, something different than what I'm doing right now, and I want to try that out, right?
Yeah, I think similar to what I was saying before. I'm a teacher, and there's definitely elements of teaching that I enjoy, but it was a lot of hard work, and it just didn't feel as fun or as exhilarating as other creative outlets. Whereas like stand up and writing and other things like that, that does give me something, and podcasting as well. And so I think obviously, there are financial elements to work and things like that. But as far as that kind of emotional payback, um, I've always wanted it just felt like it gave me a lot more in terms of that emotional payback, in terms of something where you enjoy and something you're proud of, and you feel like you're doing something that is meant for you. And I've completely forgotten the question, but I hope I've answered it.
Definitely you
Yeah.
answered it, man. Definitely answered it.
Sorry, my mind went blank. There you go. I had that moment.
I really
So
love,
take a breath. Ask a question.
when you go in the flow and you're talking about anything and you wanders about.
Mm.
That's like that's where
Yeah.
magic happens.
That's true. Yeah.
So exactly. So like Joe, I just had like one last question for you. That it's no secret. Like you are a great comedian. We have seen your videos right on Instagram, and you have shared with us the links. So it's no secret that the comedy industry is really difficult to be in. Exactly right. So what would what would be your teachings that you had learned previously from your experiences that you want to give us and our viewers?
Um, this is a lesson that I'm trying to learn. So I don't. This is yeah, this kind of principle here is something that I'm working on. So I'm not perfect at it, but it's enjoying the journey. It's getting to the destination is great, but then once you've got to the destination, that's it. Then you have to think of something else. You can only be at that destination for so long, and by all means, enjoy the destination when you're there. But enjoy the journey, because it's a lot of rejection, and it's a lot of experimenting and a lot of hard work, and if you're not enjoying it, pick something else. Like, it's okay that it's hard work and it's stressful at sometimes. Like, that's okay. Nothing's going to be perfect. But if the overall experience is super negative, why do that? You've got to find something where the overall experience is a net positive, and it's something that you feel about, care about, and so on and so on. So don't be harsh on yourself, because other people will be. Enjoy it, learn. If things aren't funny, doesn't mean that you're not funny. It's just that's not funny. So learn from that. It's okay. No one's gonna, the top comedians, they try things out and they get rid of things. Not everything that comes out of their head is golden. It just looks like that because they've put in a ton of work before they ever get on stage before a big audience. They've tried and tested everything. So it's we're all in the same boat. We're just slightly different parts of the boat, if that metaphor works. I don't know.
Yeah, that works.
Thanks, Aabhar. I appreciate that. Super positive.
Absolutely. So, Joe, we have asked you multiple questions and we got their answers, and we're really like glad that you are here with us today. At last, like it's a tradition of our podcast that we ask our guests to ask us a question to answer, as we have asked you multiple questions.
Yeah.
So, what is that one thing you
We are
get
giving
one
you a chance.
Yeah.
Giving
Ask
us a
us a
chance.
question.
Okay, all right. That is a good question. So, if I were to ask you guys a question, what is the principle or the kind of life lesson that you guys are trying to learn right now? What are you trying to work on personally right now?
Personally, okay, I would answer that.
Mhm.
For me, at least, I am trying to work on this very common thing, that doesn't matter if it's a good time, it's a bad time, it's a great time, it's the best time, or it is the worst time. Right? This too shall pass.
Yeah.
And you can stay in a situation for how long do you think you're going to stay in one situation? It's not going to stay like that forever. Things are changing every day, right? People are changing every day. You are changing every day, right? So this too shall pass. So you don't have to worry too
Times
much
and
about
seasons
things,
for everything.
right? That is one thing I'm trying to work on.
I like that one. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, Aabhar.
I really can't think of anything right now.
Yeah.
Oh, he's stumped again. He's quiet again.
Like so many deep thoughts. Like okay.
So I'm just so wise. It's so hard to pick.
Oh man. Yeah, absolutely.
Wise man.
So currently in my life, I am in a learning phase that like I'm still learning to. It's a constant cycle. It never ends, right? Sometimes I think I'm in a phase to understand myself, that how can I work, whether hustle work culture is my thing, or the calm and patient thing is my thing. So I'm trying to figuring it out, like how to do it, what to do it, trying different things, and as it is a cycle, that what suits me.
That's good. That's exciting. Yeah, trying to figure those things out. That's exciting. That's good.
Yeah. And the podcast we did 2 podcasts today, and the one we did before this with Mr. Pratik Words, he said in the end that don't rush the process, take it very slow. He said there is no end. Right? You think that I have to reach to the end, I have to become the best or blah blah blah. But he says that there is no end. Take it slow, enjoy the process, man. Like it's not gonna go anywhere.
That's where my question came
That's
from.
nice.
Yeah.
There you go. Inspirational. Yeah, I like that a lot. It's just, and that's a skill, because we get stressed about lots of different things, don't we? But if we can enjoy the process, then we're winning at life, really, aren't we?
Actually. Oh my God, when did this thing got so wise? We were laughing a minute ago. Anyways, Joe,
we can name this podcast as Enjoying the Process with Joe Walsh.
Oh, that's lovely.
Okay, cool. Yeah, let's go on.
Yeah, okay. Think about that one again.
Okay, Joe, thank you very much for joining us today. We are so happy that you took out some time on even on a weekend to join us in the podcast. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
We had a really great time. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Yeah, and if people want to find me, my Instagram is at WalshyJoe. Same for my TikTok at WalshyJoe1993. So if you guys want to check me out, I'd appreciate that.
Oh, definitely. People do check him out. He's a hilarious guy. If you really want to enjoy the time, you want to invite your boyfriend, girlfriend, or invite your family, and you want to watch something funny, he is the guy. Okay? Everybody.
Very sweet.
Yeah. So,
absolutely.
Thank you. We really hope you have enjoyed today's conversation and laughed and loved the conversation just like we did today. Joe, being a stand-up comedian, obviously brought some joyous moment to the podcast. But he also shared very deep and emotional insight on the particular topic of public speaking. We really believe that this podcast can help you out some way to learn how to get over the problems, and learn how to start your own startup. Before you go, make sure to hit subscribe and smash the bell icon. And until next time, keep learning and stay curious.